they developed. But the technology was not the focus. It is what the technology could do to help leverage community information assets to achieve community goals. Each and every one of them built a team, and they built the right team. They were able to pull together the groups of people who could help them achieve their vision for meeting their community's needs. Each and every one of them embodied the spirit of inquiry. They had a genuine curiosity and a commitment to act on that curiosity to implement and execute, not just identify. We have some implications for, I want to talk a little bit about implications for library education, if I could here. The first one is identifying the entrepreneurial spirit. Syracuse clearly does a good job of that. And as you've seen in the slides here, many library schools are producing entrepreneurs, but these are frequently unanticipated outcomes. It happens by accident. So we need to be a little intentional about making sure that we're creating curriculum and experiences and the support services that are needed by these young entrepreneurs to thrive and survive. One example that I want to share with you, and it's actually kept me awake at night a couple of times, is I visited Barbara Moran's popular materials class this spring as a guest speaker. And one of the things that I like to do when I visit a class is I like to talk to the students and sort of get them to tell me a little bit about who they are and what they want to learn. Well, about the fourth person that I got to was a young woman who looked at me and she said, "You know, I just want you to know that I love novelists. But I also want you to know I'm coming after your business." And I thought, that is exactly who I want sitting in the chairs at Sills. Now, it kept me up. Later I realized that maybe I didn't want her sitting there. or maybe I'm not going to miss any job fair that happens over at Sills in the next year, year and a half. But I thought that was great. But my question is, do faculty here know who I'm talking about? Do faculty here know how that woman got in your program? You should. You really should. Exploring technology. There was a great sort of, I won't call it debate or argument. I mean, nothing was thrown. But there was a lively discussion yesterday about whether we all needed to be programmers or have some experience with programming. Just what does it mean to be familiar with technology? And that's something that we really need to wrestle with and explore, because one of the things I feel is that we need to think about technology in the same ways that we used to think about reference sources in databases. We need to understand what they can do and what questions or opportunities they're good at solving. We need to understand how technologies can help us help our communities leverage their information assets to achieve community goals. We also need to understand something about needs assessment. We need to learn and develop and build the skills and the capacities to look at a community of users and identify what their needs are and how information can address those needs. We also need to become experts at collaboration. We need to know how to participate in a team environment. As Buck would suggest, we even need to know how to create and build those environments, to pull those teams together. And I think that's hugely important. At Novelist, everything is done as a team. You know, we spend most of our time, not most of our time, but a lot of our time in team meetings across departments and in meetings with customers, focus groups, all that stuff. This banner is from an article in Fast Company called The Coming Tech War of 2012. I suspect you know who was up there. But what this article is about is saying that the 4 American companies who have created the information technologies we use in the 21st century and are changing the way we educate and entertain ourselves are about to go to war. And that war is about mind share, and it's about wallets. And what I want us to be aware of here is that this is not just a war between them. This war has the potential for us to be collateral damage. This is the context in which we will operate as a profession. Okay? And so we need to be prepared to figure out where we fit. Okay? And I want to go back to David again, his earlier talk about nature and about seasons. And I want us to think about not the big problems that Buck was kind of hinting at. We'll get to those. But I think we have 3 big questions as a profession. Okay? And how we answer these 3 big ongoing questions is going to determine not only the seasons of our careers, but the seasons of our profession. Okay? And these 3 questions are, what is the nature of the work we do, and how does that work add value to our communities? Secondly, we need to think about what is the nature of the people we need to do this work, and how do we create structures that support them in doing it? And finally, what is the nature of the educational ecology that will prepare all of us to be active participants in what will surely by 2050 not be the information industry, but what will surely be the imagination economy. Thank you.
So we have 5 minutes for questions for the panel. So if Bonnie and Ann could come up, and Duncan, if you could come over. A trip to the microphone is a good opportunity to stretch. Please.
I wanted to ask Ann, who said that the things that employers would be looking for in the future, and 2 of those struck me, communications and listening and understanding. And I've been reading about the young people who are interviewing today. A lot of them can't look up and look the interviewer in the eye because they're so used to looking down at their device in their hand. And so how do you think that we're going to get them to communicate, the kind of communication you were talking about?
I always thought people were praying until I realized they were doing something else. They are communicating. First of all, I would say that what they're doing is not what we think of looking in the eye and shaking your hand and so on, but they are communicating. They need to broaden their communication spectrum, and I think that's a societal assignment. I think parents need to teach their children to do that, and teachers and colleagues and friends need to do that as well. But it is a communication, it's just not traditional communication. And I would extend that to listening, which is not spending that time thinking about what you're going to say next, but spending your time listening and then thinking about what you're going to say next.
The other comment I would make is last month I was at Google for a day in New York, and everybody was that person you were just describing, looking down, and yet that company's thriving. So, you know,